Hi, I'm Richard. I'm a speech and language therapist and a lecturer based in the UK. In today's video, I'm going to explain the speech and language therapy science behind a news story. In particular, how a woman reported losing her voice while spectating at a live darts event. I hope this video will be useful to students and members of the public interested to know how their voice works and increase their awareness of common risk factors which contribute towards voice difficulties, also known as dysphonia. The journalist Grace Dean published a news story on the BBC about several fans' experience attending the 2025 PDC World Darts Championship last week, which 17-year-old Luke Littler won by beating Michael van Gerwen 7-3 in the final. The title of the news story and comments from 62-year-old Amanda Worthington caught my eye. Amanda was reported to have developed a hoarse voice from singing and laughing and eventually lost her voice altogether. The symptoms that Amanda reports might be described by a speech and language therapist as a temporary voice strain or misuse. If this pattern of behaviour continued over a longer period of time, then it could develop into a condition called muscle tension dysphonia. Spectators at live darts events are likely to develop temporary voice strain or misuse for several reasons. First, the venue and atmosphere itself. The event was held at the Alexandra Palace in London. This venue holds over 3,000 people. Despite its relatively small size compared to other live sporting events, its atmosphere is renowned for being incredibly loud and energetic. The noise level of the crowd can reach over 100 decibels at times. To put this number into perspective, a normal conversation is typically between 55 to 70 decibels, and anything above 85 decibels is considered shouting and could cause potential injury to the speaker and temporary hearing damage to the listener. Interestingly, former world champion Gerwyn Price infamously wore ear defenders at the same event in 2023. Players are now banned from wearing earphones, headphones and ear defenders prior to or during matches as a result, but they can continue to wear in-ear earplugs to block out crowd noise if they wish. I will now give a basic description of normal voice production so you can understand why spectators like Amanda might lose their voice. Normal voice is produced when air leaves your lungs when you breathe out. The air travels up through your windpipe, also known as your trachea, which runs from between your lungs until it reaches the voice box, also known as the larynx, which is the orange structure at the top of this diagram. Inside the larynx are two folds of tissue called the vocal cords or vocal folds. When you breathe, these folds remain open and allow air to move freely, as seen on the left side of the diagram. But when you want to produce voice to speak, muscles in the larynx bring the vocal folds close together, as on the right side of the diagram. The air leaving your lungs is forced through a much narrower gap, which causes the vocal folds to vibrate rapidly. This vibration creates the basic sound of your voice. When the folds are tighter, you produce a higher pitched voice, and when they are more relaxed, they produce a lower pitch. After the sound is created in the larynx, it travels up through the throat into your mouth and nose. The shape of your lips, tongue and other parts of your mouth shape this sound into recognizable speech. To produce a loud voice like the spectators at the darts when they chant and sing over 100 decibels, the vocal folds must close much more tightly and vibrate with much greater force than usual. To overcome this increased tension in the vocal folds, air leaving the lungs is forced upwards with more pressure than usual to force open the vocal folds. This level of overuse over extended periods of time is what strains the voice and can lead to people losing their voice temporarily. It is also a vicious cycle, as speakers involuntarily increase their vocal effort and volume when speaking in noisy environments such as the Alexandra Palace to be heard. This is what's known as the Lombard effect. Second, the nature of spectating live darts itself increases how frequently someone can potentially misuse their voice compared to other live sports as well. Spectators can use their voice throughout a darts match, unlike other sports such as golf, tennis or snooker, where spectators are expected to remain quiet whilst the player is taking their shot, so there are fewer opportunities to rest their voice during a match. The BBC News story also quoted 38-year-old Renee Rogers, describing the atmosphere at the darts as more like a pantomime, with chanting and booing rather than an intense rivalry of fans like at a football match. Spectators cheer everyone taking part and will even cheer the player about to lose to encourage them to get back into the match because they do not want the match to end. Again, this means there are few opportunities for spectators to rest their voice during a match. One of the most important parts of professional darts culture is the announcer shouting 180 when a player hits 3 triple 20s in a row, most famously associated with referee Russ, the voice of darts Bray, who has a distinctive raspy voice. Spectators will often attempt to emulate the announcer who shouts the iconic 180, putting further strain on their voice. Luke Littler and Michael Van Gerwen hit 25 180s between them in the final this year, so this occurs regularly in matches. Finally, spectators often consume large amounts of alcohol at darts events. The effect of alcohol on voice production could be a whole video in itself, so I will just mention 2 brief issues here. Some of the physical effects of alcohol and, perhaps not so obvious, the cognitive effects of alcohol on voice production too. In terms of physical effects, alcohol dehydrates the vocal folds, which causes them to vibrate roughly against each other, resulting in a hoarse voice. The vocal folds can often become inflamed and irritated as a result. The body's response to this is to produce more mucus to combat the dehydration. The drinker will then throat clear and cough more frequently, which further irritates the vocal folds as they must forcefully close against one another before a cough can be initiated. In terms of cognitive effects, alcohol impairs a wide range of cognitive skills, such as cognitive flexibility, impulse control, and self-awareness. As the drinker consumes more alcohol, they are more likely to participate in the chanting and singing, not recognise when their voice is becoming strained, and not change their behaviour as a result to reduce the negative effects of the strain, e.g. by having a rest, stop talking, stop drinking alcohol, or drink more water instead. So there you have it, the speech and language therapy science behind a news story of a woman losing her voice at the darts. If you found this video useful or interesting, give it a like and subscribe to receive notifications about similar videos in the future. If you've got any comments, questions, or have a request for other media stories to be covered in the future, then let me know in the comments below or get in touch with me on Blue Sky or Twitter. Otherwise, thanks for watching and take care.